No one gets what you're going through unless you've been there. The people in your surroundings often have a lack of understanding of what you're going through, and it's really, really hard because if there's a time that you need a bit of compassion, it's now. But instead, when trying to talk about what you're going through, you walk away feeling more shame. People look at you with the thought of, well, you made your bed, now you got to sleep in it, or why don't you just leave if you're so miserable? And this isn't helpful at all. It deepens the trauma. And it does because you were most likely raised feeling shame and feeling guilty and feeling bad. So when they act as though you're just this negative person giving out negative vibes, they might say things like, well, think positive. Like that helps, right? That only makes it worse. Or get over it, or let it go. That doesn't help at all. You end up feeling disgusted with your own self, more self hatred, as though you needed more of that to begin with, right? By addressing your feelings, you stepped into more judgment. When it comes to narcissistic abuse, people do not get it. They don't understand what a person is going through and they deem it as minimal. They don't see abuse unless your body is covered in black and blue bruises. But make no mistake, this abuse is just as detrimental, if not more. The attitude that the victim will get from others is that it takes two to tango. People believe that you're both to blame in this and you're both adding fuel to the fire. Sorry, I need coffee. Then again, others just see it as you being involved with an unreasonable person, no more, no less. But regardless of how it's viewed through the lens of outside sources, you are at fault for staying in the relationship. And all you need to do is end it. So it's your fault. You're just weak. And they don't need to say it. You'll feel it. More shame. But people are unaware of the consequences that leaving a narcissist can entail. And so leaving is not as easy as they think. There's the physical aspect to contend with, and there is the psychological aspect. But the belief is that if they do stay, it mustn't be so bad, or the victim is merely playing a role of victim and attention seeking here. And here you are needing so desperately to talk about it, but on top of being rejected and discarded by your partner, you're also being discarded by the outer world, intentional or not. You're left entirely alone to deal with this. And this abuse is much more serious than people think. That's why a lot of people end up watching YouTube videos all the time, binging. The person who already was traumatized in childhood, again, intentionally or not, has an extremely hard time drawing a line in the sand. They've been conditioned to believe that they have no say in anything, that they have no voice. They were taught to believe that saying no means that they're being hurtful towards another by denying someone else's wants. Saying no makes them bad. Saying no makes them unlovable and unloved. Time and time again, they've been disapproved of every time they wanted to set a boundary. So when you're taught to never say no, what you're also being taught is to never say yes to yourself. And so you deny your own true self. So now this person grows up feeling that they don't have permission to want, because if they do, there's going to be consequences. They're conditioned to believe that they're bad. Whatever value that you have or had is no longer being respected, not only by others, but sadly, your own self, because you've been taught to not set boundaries. And that can change, however. But in the meantime, saying no to someone meant you were bad, and still does. So when a person ends up getting involved with a narcissist, which is often the case, they most definitely get repercussions. We end up attracting narcissists in our lives because of how we were conditioned growing up. We attract circumstances to both how we think and how we feel. So you are made to feel that you don't deserve good. You attract the same thing. So yes, healing is important. It's the programming that has to change. So what ends up happening within the relationship is the person who has already been traumatized as a child now becomes re-traumatized. They become paralyzed in even more areas of their lives. They don't move forward anymore. They already didn't before the narcissist came along, and now it's even graver. They are in a freeze response. The freeze response is when your body shuts down. Instead of fighting or running, you go numb, you're stuck or unable to react in the moment. For example, someone might be getting criticized or attacked, and instead of defending themselves or walking away, they just go quiet. Their mind just blanks. They don't know how to respond. They're stuck. It's like a paralysis. Their body feels stuck. And when you're in a constant state of freeze, you cannot leave the relationship. Not because you don't see what's happening, you're not stupid, but because it's your nervous system that's overwhelmed. It's trying to protect you by shutting everything down. So from the outside, it can look like you're choosing to stay, but internally, you don't feel like you have access to a choice at all. You no longer believe that there's a way out. And because you believe that, you end up attracting circumstances that seem to prove that, keeping you even more stuck. Not a fun place to be, because in this, well, it feels hopeless. And then trying to explain to others what's going on, you can't even put it into words yourself, because trying to explain it to other people, it comes out sounding like nothing, like a complete nothing burger. You'll say something like, they're not talking to me right now. And on the outside, that sounds normal. Couples argue, that happens. People take space to process sometimes. But what isn't being said is that the narcissist isn't talking to you out of sheer hatred. They're not processing here. What isn't being said is that the why they're not talking to you. Like perhaps you didn't look up while they were talking, but you're the one that was busy working. What isn't being said is how often it happens and what it took to even get to that moment. What people don't see, and what even the person in it doesn't fully see, is that it's not one big obvious thing. It's a pattern. It's constant. It's built over time, little by little. It's the tone. It's the looks. It's the withdrawal. It's the tension. It's the walking on eggshells, trying to say the right thing, not set them off, not make it worse. So when you try to explain it, you're explaining one small moment, but you're living 1,000 of them. And those 1,000 moments are what your body is reacting to, not just the one you're describing. That's why it sounds small to other people, but it feels overwhelming to you, because it is overwhelming. And then trying to explain to others what's going on, you can't even put it into words. It's too confusing because you're confused. The cognitive dissonance, it's heavy, heavy, heavy programming. When a person is in a high emotional state, fear, stress, tears, whatever it is that's said or experienced in those moments, it gets absorbed way more deeply into the subconscious mind. It bypasses logic and it goes straight into the subconscious mind. So even if the conscious mind says that's not true, I do deserve good, the subconscious mind, unconscious mind, has already stored it as truth. You're not conscious of it. So if someone is repeatedly told they're stupid or that they'll never amount to anything, those messages, they start to stick, and it's not just words. It can be what wasn't there. The parent who was distracted, emotionally unavailable, never really saw you. That absence, it gets interpreted too. And over time, the subconscious builds a belief. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I don't matter. So when you're in a freeze state inside a relationship like this, it's not just about what's happening now. It's interacting with everything that was already programmed before. And that's why it can feel so impossible at this point to move, because it's not just the situation holding you there, it's the belief system underneath it, the unconscious. You're not conscious of it. It's in the body. So if the victim already feels those things, which most times they do, they will now experience these beliefs at an even deeper level, with the narcissist re-traumatizing them. That unhealed wound is going to deepen making it even harder for them to leave. Victims of narcissists are more often than not quite intelligent, but even so, trauma upon trauma will lead to these deep-seated beliefs that somehow they just aren't enough and they'll never make it on their own and no one else is going to want them. And so they often just give up the fight and they remain in the chaos trying to survive because they're exhausted. It's already so hard. Their bodies are exhausted. And then there's the self-hate and the shame that they feel for putting up with this level of treatment. I'd like to talk about some of the experiences or the end results that the victim goes through. There are 5 that I'd like to address. So let's start with number 1, isolation. There is isolation from the abuser and there is self-isolation from the victim. With the abuser, this tactic is used to take control, where the victim no longer has agency over their own life. Those who don't experience abuse often take for granted the little things like going for a drive on a sunny day or taking a walk with a friend. These little things make up a life, but the victim doesn't get to enjoy any of this. Never. The narcissist manipulates the narrative, always being around if the victim has friends over. The victim feels monitored, the friends feel uncomfortable, and eventually they stop coming around. They'll also create isolation with family by telling the victim that their family is talking bad about them, and conflict begins. So now they pull away from their family. There's less people, that they're more isolated. Other tactics include ruining transportation or convincing them that one vehicle is better, leaving the victim dependent. Because who's got the vehicle? Not you. This isolation is designed to keep the victim away from others so that they won't hear outside perspectives. And in that isolation, they use jealousy and guilt to prevent the victim from leaving. And along with this comes brainwashing, using the victim's weakness. An abused person can also self-isolate as a way to self-protect. When they feel unsupported by both the abuser and the outside world, they retreat into a shell, creating a world of work or study, and often studying how to improve the relationship, how to improve themselves for the relationship. They stay busy to avoid the pain or to prove that they have worth. They often become workaholics because they feel safer than risking rejection or judgment. So whether it's forced isolation or self-isolation, the victim remains in a shell to avoid further trauma. Number 2 is mistrust. The victim loses trust in themselves and their ability to make decisions. When constantly in distress, the messages from the abuser are downloaded into the subconscious and they become their reality. They no longer trust that they can survive on their own or make decisions or even trust what's happening is enough to leave. They live in doubt, in fear. They don't believe anyone else would want them or that life would improve. So they stay, even if consciously they know better. The subconscious belief, it prevails. They might think that they deserve better, the logical, the conscious part of the mind, but deep down they feel the opposite. The internal conflict makes it nearly impossible to leave. Number 3 is cognitive dissonance, and this is when beliefs and reality clash. To reduce the discomfort, the brain rationalizes. For example, the narcissist asks to be reminded of something, then reacts angrily when reminded. Even though the reaction is wrong, the victim adjusts their behavior, telling themselves that, well, the next time they're going to do it differently. They'll remind them when the partner isn't tired, for example. They stay hoping that things are going to change because the truth is too painful. That pain, it connects back to childhood wounds. Now they're walking around with an open wound and the narcissist deepens it. Cognitive dissonance leads to constant second guessing and often apologizing for things that they didn't do. Number 4 is CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a response to repeated trauma causing anxiety, guilt, shame, helplessness, worthlessness, and a distorted sense of self. They struggle to regulate emotions and become hypervigilant, always waiting for the shoe to drop, always waiting for something bad to happen. They live in a constant state of fear. And lastly, number 5, depression. Depression affects sleep, serotonin, dopamine, and overall functioning. When someone can't see a way out, they lose hope. And because others don't understand, they isolate further to avoid judgment, which deepens the shame and can lead to suicidal thoughts. Being in a narcissistic relationship is serious. And today, while I've touched on some aspects of what victims experience, not even the threats that abusers use to control them, or other stuff they do. With narcissism on the rise, I hope that more people begin to understand not just victims, but family and friends. But for the victim, I want to say keep going. Where there's a will, there's a way, and you are not alone. Keep researching, keep looking for the light, because those who seek, find. So that's all for today, and I hope that this has brought some clarity. Victims of narcissistic abuse need support, and support looks like acknowledgement, not judgment. Food for thought. And by the way, please subscribe and comment. I need those these days. AI and the new algorithms have literally messed up my channel. So thank you, and bye for now.